No, that's wow. You said that really well. You gave me goose pimples. I hate when people say
Uh,
goose pimples. They're called goosebumps. All right, so Maddie and I talked about what we wanted to talk about today, and we thought about asking deep questions. The reason why we wanted to ask these deep questions to each other is because whenever our siblings are around, or cousins, and it's late at night, we're all laying on the sofa, we go on the internet and deep questions to ask your siblings. So I went
when we're
online.
watching horror movies and eating sour keys.
Yes, and the what I looked up online is deep questions about values. Okay. So we'll go through this list
We've
and
never seen any of these questions, so
yes,
this might get controversial.
I feel like some of the answers are simple, but
Okay.
some could be complicated. So the first one seems very simple. Would you rather acquire material items or experiences?
I'm that type of person that's like, what's your favorite color? And I'm like, ooh, I don't have an answer. It depends on my mood. So my answer to that was be experience versus material. I mean, obviously you want experiences, right? But like, what's an experience? Traveling or an experience like I got into a fight with my spouse and I learned and grew from it, right? Like, I mean, I want all those experiences. But I also like, let's just not be silly here. If you ask anybody that question, they're all gonna be like, I want experiences. But I think for us to truly value experiences, we have to attain some type of material ceiling in order to realize that we don't want it.
Yep.
Because I think there's always an underlying desire of I want the car, I want the house, or I want X amount of money in my bank account. Like I don't think any human can get rid of that. Like no matter where you are in the universe, you want more materialistically, and until you get it or satiate it somehow, you won't really appreciate it and actually want the experiences over the material. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say I agree with you in that sense. I don't think it's a black or white answer. Material or do you want experiences? Well, what if I want to go through the experiences to achieve the material thing? Right? So what if I go through the act of making $30,000 cash and us buying our first convertible, and then I'm like, I don't really care about this, but I had to go through that experience and had to go through it, and it's happening with Max now too, because out loud everyone's like, oh, you know what's amazing about Max? I said I have to build a bigger business, a better life. I want to leave more for him. I want to do amazing things. I want to leave a legacy, and a lot of the answers I get, it's just shower him with love, obviously, right? But
Yeah,
I also want to
baseline.
but I also want to shower him with more things too, right? A legacy, a standards, right? If you were to ask any child, my parents showed me so much love, were they able to help you with the down payment of a house? No. Right? Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I want to be able to still help him in ways not just past emotional, right? Because there is a monetary aspect to this world,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Okay. Now the next one is, if it costs the same, would you live in a mansion or a mid-sized house with a lot of land?
Oh, I know your answer. I mean, I would want a mid-sized house with a lot of land because we're gonna have an army of a family, so we gotta let them go have adventures and less number one, less to clean, right? Like everybody wants that. But also, the more rooms they are, the more separate I find the people in them live. Like we live in a very, very large house because at one point there was 15, 14 people living in that house, like 4 generations now with Max. And you everybody has their own separate room. So it's like, everybody's sleeping in different rooms. So everybody goes on their laptop in their room or in their phone on their room. And then it's just everybody's so separate, right? So I think the more space, I think it's not a good thing when it comes to family, at least. Like if you're sick of your family, then maybe it's time to move out. But while you're living with your family, I think it needs to be close quarters. I mean, you should have your own space, right? Like you and me talked about this. We want our kids to have their own rooms, but the rooms are just for sleeping, right? And self-expression. So if you want to color on the walls, go color on the walls. But there's going to be a designated area for homework, right? Or it's like a general area for homework. The room is just for sleeping. Because I remember when I was growing up, that's normally how it was. And then as I got older and I finally got a phone, and I finally got a laptop, and then I got a TV in my room, I never left my room. I was a hermit in my room, and then my family never saw me, and they did the same thing. They got TVs in their rooms, they got all that stuff, and it was like just an erosion of connection. I find the more space in a house, the more literal and metaphorical space there becomes. So that's my long-winded answer.
Yeah, I would choose a mid-sized with a big property. and we live in a mansion right now, and it's too many rooms. It's just too much, right? We have a big driveway and a maid's driveway, and it's nice to say out loud if you have it, but in practicality, I shared a room with my brothers till I was about 18 or 19. 19 years
Yeah.
old is when I first got my own room. And by the time I was 19, you don't even use your room anymore. You're out and about in real world, right? So
Yeah.
I would always say have a smaller sized house with a bigger property, especially since we have children. But when our children get older, they're not going to be in the house. They're going to be out and about, right? Which is fine.
Yeah.
Now, in what scenario, if any, is it okay to lie?
Ooh, okay. So your favorite saying is honesty bloodies more than it. What was your saying? Honesty
Honesty is
a bloody truth.
it's an instrument that bloodies more than it cuts.
Yes. Okay.
Right? It
There's
doesn't
your.
it doesn't get it doesn't get the job done.
I bloodied that one. I butchered that one. But my point being, there's a difference between being honest and being rude, and the truth can be just as harmful as a lie. So I mean, am I going to go out of my way to say you look great in that dress if you look like garbage? No, but I'm also not going to tell you in your face you look like garbage. Like you know, you have to choose when to be honest. I think that's a more nuanced answer. Um, but I think not being honest is also not the same as a lie. If the intention is good.
Yeah, I feel like when you say lie, you're intentionally trying to do
You're
something
trying to
or
cover the truth.
deceive.
You're trying to cover the truth because you're afraid of what happens when the truth gets out, like repercussions for you, right? But if you're just if you're changing your degree of honesty for the sake of somebody else's feelings, for the sake of they're not ready to hear it yet, or you don't know how to say it in a way that they'll hear yet, I think that's really, really important. Honesty is a very important tool, and especially in your closest relationships, I don't think there should be like you and me. I think we're pretty close to being able to be like bluntly honest without offending each other. But you and I are also very honesty is like a dance. We're also very careful with how we do share the truth. And we don't just because you have a truth doesn't mean you need to share it all the time. It's just
Yes.
not appropriate.
Yes.
It's not helping you. It's not helping the situation. Nobody grew from it. You've just upset a situation. And now there's nothing to do with it except negative energy. It wasn't the right time. You weren't in the right headspace. And let's be honest, most of the time when people actually share brutal honesty, it's in the moment, passionate, and usually angry. And they actually share the truth. And I don't think that that's how truth should come about because you did that for yourself. You didn't do that for the other person. And truth is supposed to, if truth is going to be told, it should benefit each person. Now, benefit doesn't mean it feels good for each person, right? Like sometimes you have to tell the truth for you because I mean you don't want to live a world where you lie. So sometimes you will hurt the other person, but it's said in a way that the person either immediately or soon after can understand why you said it. That's my take. What's yours?
I think you have a lot of valid points, and I think we share the same thoughts on that. And especially since we've run our own business for so long and we've done sales for so long, you honesty is an instrument that bloodies more than it cuts. And I hate when people say, I'm just such an honest person. I'm just going to give it to you straight all the time. Well, then you'll have no friends and nobody likes you. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're consistently honest and you're constantly telling people truths or where they're screwing up, you're going to have no friends. Honesty is a tool that needs to be delivered with eloquence and grace and
Yeah.
class.
And if that's not something that you're up for, then honesty's not for you because you're going to do a hell of a lot more damage than I wouldn't say lying. Like I'm not here advocating it's being honest or lying. I don't think it's that black and white. It's always being honest, but choosing when and with who.
Yes.
Like you do not have to be genuinely honest with the stranger at the checkout. Right? Like that I don't even understand how that would come about. But you don't have to be rude and outright with them.
But I do feel that social media has allowed people in a way to be honest and say something when people are ready to hear it, right? And in a way, right? There's like who I follow online, a lot of motivational speakers, all that
Oh yeah, I
stuff.
get what you're saying. You can be blunt, but you've curated your audience so that you attract the people that want to hear the blunt truth.
Exactly, right? They don't want to hear a lie all the time. But I agree with you. I don't think lying is ever ever something you should do. I believe sometimes you don't even have to. If somebody is putting you in a position where they're asking you for an answer and you have to lie or you have to hide something, sometimes don't even give the answer. You don't even need to give it to them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Let me get back to you on
You
that.
can hold your energy in.
Yeah. You don't constantly always need to give answers.
We had an employee once, and her father got into an accident, and she was very emotional. She's having a very rough time, and she was coming in to teach a group class, and she broke down mid class. And I mean, I understood, and you understood what was happening, and we said go home, right? Like, please go home if you can't do this, if you're too upset, go home, take some time with your family. And she did that. But the thing is, we also spoke with her before and we said, hey, like, we told you you didn't need to come in today. Are you sure you're ready? Please don't push yourself. I know that this is a tough time. And then she proceeded to do it and then not be able to, right? So there's the business side of things where it's like, you can't afford to do stuff like that. You underperformed, you didn't hit your KPIs, you were unprofessional, right? Like, there was like a lot of things that happened that we can reprimand her for. But then on the other hand, it's not like I'm going to sit there and be like, boom, 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 you're fired in a situation like that when she's having a really rough time. No, no, no. You let it pass, you let them deal, and then you say, hey, by the way, this could have been done better. Cool, we'll work on it next time. Awesome. And I don't think people do that too much. I think people have a really hard time. I think they bottle things up too much to the point where one thing will set them off, then they tell way too much truth and they do it to hurt the other person.
Yes.
And
I
that's
think that's why
unfortunate.
divorces and all these things happen. It's like, I'll put that away. I'll store that. I don't need to talk about that. That didn't really affect me. That didn't affect me. And then you have this resentment towards this person. I I constantly stay on top of how you speak to me, right? Right away, if you say something negative to me that I don't like, I stop it right there. I'm like, don't do that again. That's not happening. Rather than said, I'll let it go. Just let it go. No, I'm not letting it go because I
Yep.
know that if you think that's okay, that's going to happen again in the future. And I know if I put it away, it's going to get stored. You don't naturally just let negative emotion fly away. It gets stored in your
Yeah.
body as tension, pain, stress, fat. It gets stored in your body. It doesn't randomly just go away, right?
Yeah.
So I'm honest with you about those certain situations, setting boundaries to protect myself, right?
Yeah.
I'm very honest to protect myself. I am not a doormat for people as well. So utter honesty is true when it really conflicts on you and your nature, I feel.
I think for you to be truly honest with somebody about them, I think that is earned. I think someone has to earn your honesty, right? Because if you're giving feedback to somebody, honest feedback for their personal growth, and they've asked for it, well, that's you have a really deep connection with that person. You're not going to go do that to Sue, who doesn't care and isn't going to listen to your honesty.
Yeah,
Like, you hold your honesty for the people that are going to actually use it, not for the people that just throw it aside.
yeah, don't cast pearls before swine. Most of the time, you just don't talk and don't give advice so much. The tongue is a beast that wants to escape its cage.
Yeah.
Stop giving everybody advice. Stop telling everybody what to do with their lives. Most of the time, all you need to do is watch and just be a leader, and they'll follow you and they'll ask for your advice if you want it.
Yeah, and I think I mean, as much as it's a nuanced topic and it's somewhat complicated, if you're honest with yourself, you will be better to navigate honesty with others. Period. Like, if you're hiding from your body, hiding from how you feel about yourself, hiding from how you feel about your spouse, hiding about how you hate your job and you're pretending you don't hate it that much, and then it makes you more negative and eat more and then you gain more weight. Like, if you're hiding from yourself and how you feel and where you are in life right now, then you're going to really run into problems with when to be honest and when to lie. I don't think we really run into that issue. I mean, we definitely overstep sometimes and we cross.
I feel it happens a lot in our career actually. And I was just thinking about this yesterday. I had a coaching call with a lot of our clients online, and I brought up a very nuanced point about how most people aren't honest with themselves. If you were to say, would you change anything? Do you regret anything about yourself? No. Obviously not. That's the appropriate answer to have. And I said to the ladies on the call, okay, what I want you to do is take off your pants, take off your shirt, look in the mirror. Are you happy with that person in the mirror? No, I'm not. Well, then it's okay to be honest with yourself, right? You're not beating yourself up. And even when we used to have people come into our fitness facility and they would walk through the door, like, why are you here? I know why you're here.
Yeah.
Because you don't like the way you look and feel.
But do you know why you're here?
Yes, like, but why would you say that right away? You wouldn't say that. You don't enter a conversation that way. So you're like, I want to see your prices,
Mhm.
right? And it's always so funny because the people that will walk into our facility, walk into our business, and walk into whatever service we were selling, and that were the most honest with themselves, they were the most successful. Rather than like, I'm shopping prices. No,
Yeah.
I know why you're walking through my
I
doors.
have to lose weight. It's ruining my life. I need help and I can't do it by myself. Boom, 100 pounds gone.
Yeah, like that's it. Boom, right, that's it. But most people can't be honest because it's very difficult to be honest with yourself, right?
Yeah. And I
It's
guess if that question is sitting with somebody and they really don't know the answer would just be start with yourself
yeah.
and build the skill from there. It is a skill.
Okay, next question.
We were passionate about that one.
What is the most important lesson to teach a child?
What do you think, Max? He
Motorboat.
put his hand up for that one. The most important lesson to teach a child. Well, I mean, if you wanted to be a self sufficient member of society, the answer would be how to be self sufficient, right? Like you have to learn how to change a tire. You have to learn how to self regulate your emotions. You have to learn how to behave in a social situation so you can learn how to get what you want. Like you have to navigate the world. And I guess maybe the power game would be one of the coolest things to teach a child. But I mean, if we keep it simple, it would be how to survive without you.
Yeah.
Because I see way too many parents, like, and it just, especially now that I am a parent, it hurts me even more. Like these parents, they lost their identity of who they were. Now they're only a mother and father, and they can't let go of their kids. They just keep them close. They keep them needing them because that's what makes them feel good and them feel fulfilled is having their kids constantly need them. Oh, they need money? Here, babe, here's some groceries, right? Oh, you want to hang out? Oh, I'll go pay for the movies, right? Oh, you had a rough day? Come tell me about it, and you can sit on my shoulder. Like I see way too many like adult children, and that's the parents' fault. So I would think it would be to survive without us, really.
Yeah, that's you said that really well. It's to survive without us, but to teach one thing. If I could teach one thing to Max, if I could teach one thing to my child, would be to
There's so many.
so many
I
things.
mean, the power of giving,
That's
the
that
power
that's where my
of
mind goes right away. It's to give more than you take. And if you give more than you take, you're constantly aligning yourself to I have to be somebody that has value so I can give more, right? How can I give how can I give fitness advice if I'm overweight? So then I have to be more. And then when you
sure,
are more, you can help more, right?
yeah,
How can I give parental advice if, or how can I give marriage advice if I'm not put together in my marriage? So I have to be more in my marriage. So giving more than you take is such a selfish thing, right?
yeah,
But it's so valuable, right? Because right away, everybody's like, what can I take? What do you have to offer me? What do I
yeah. What's in it for me?
What's in it for me? What's in
Even
it for
in
me?
relationships, right? Like,
Friendships all the time, right? All friendships. It's a, what's in it for me? Eventually, if you stop being the person that's fun and awesome and cool, they're like stop. They'll start pushing you away, and that friendship will end,
yeah,
right? So I always align myself with how can I give more than I take, and if I could teach Max that, he'll be okay. He'll be more than okay. He could literally be the president, the prime minister.
yeah,
Give more than you take, your life will be fine. You will literally you will have the best wife you could have. You'll have the best body you can have. You'll have the best career you can have because you just keep giving. And then all of a sudden you have way more than you can take, right? So
yeah.
that's huge. And if I could teach him more, I would, but it's just give more than you take. And I
Well,
get
I mean,
goosebumps
yeah.
saying
I
it.
guess that that covers everything, right? If you give more, you learn more. If you give more, you meet more people. You get more money. Like I think that is
We've
like
we've
the
made
beginning of all the other advice.
we've made millions of dollars online just by giving everything away for free. Our best stuff. Our best stuff. People are like, oh, I had to pay for that. We give it away for free. We give it away for free. We give it away. And then all of a sudden, we're making more money. Life is better for us, right? Even when me and you were dating, I bought you an $800 car when I had $900 in my bank account. I was like, let me give more than I take. And then, like, we have a beautiful relationship. We have a child, right? So many people hold their cards so close to them, right?
Yeah, it's like,
So
what are you waiting for?
yeah,
And then one day it'll be too late to show your cards.
yeah,
And then why'd you have them all to begin with?
yeah. It's yeah. That's
Like
really
dying with too much money in your account. Now what?
Yeah, it's very powerful. Very powerful, giving more than you take. I still think about it all the time, and I still try to understand the universe about giving more than you take, right? Because fundamentally on books it doesn't make sense. But every single time business wise, it does better and better and
And
better.
I also think perhaps it goes against maybe some of our animalistic nature where you have to hoard and survive and you're day by day, right? If you don't know if you're going to see tomorrow, there's a scarcity of hoard and keep. So I think, I mean, at least I still have to battle with that in my head and actively train. No, no, no. If you give it, you give it. It always comes. It always comes back and then some. So I think I think it is an active skill that you need to consciously practice because I don't think it comes naturally, or at least in today's
I
materialistic
agree.
world.
I agree with you. I think it has something to do with our animalistic nature to care about ourselves, self-preservation.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. Oh, there's so many good ones.
Is it that good? Google's on point today.
If you could change one thing about your character, what would it be?
I don't even like entertaining those questions.
Okay, then next question.
Well, let me explain.
When were you the most when
Then
were
I'm gonna entertain it. I'm gonna entertain it to tell why I'm not entertaining it. Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I've spent so long, especially in business, it accelerates your character, right? Like you think you're a hard worker, go start a business, you become a harder worker. You think you're a giving person, go start a business, you have to be more generous, you have to give more than you take, right? So we've come so far in our characters already if we considered ourselves flawed before and we've worked on those flaws. There's still flaws to go. But I've spent so much time beating myself up over those flaws, and I don't think it's productive, or I think it comes in seasons when you need to beat yourself up. I don't want to sit here and pinpoint all my flaws because, on the last podcast, we talked about where you think your energy goes. So now every time I don't do X, I now think, oh my God, it's because I'm lacking a character flaw. When really over time, if we just keep doing what we're doing, it's gotten better anyway. If we look back on our past, we aren't the same person we were 1 year ago, 5 years ago, or when we started business together, right? If I look back to who I was when we started the gym, I was lazy and I was 80 pounds overweight, right? But look where we are now. That fixed itself just by looking forward, right? And then if you keep looking forward, you move forward. And if you do find yourself focusing on your flaws or focusing on things you wish you could be or things you want to work on, then we hyper focus on those things. And I think we are more aware of them. We are more aware of our shortcomings. And I don't think that ever helps because I don't think me saying I'm not a hard worker is going to help me work harder in our business. Can I work harder? Absolutely. Do I think I'm working at like 10% of my actual capacity? Yeah,
Mm.
because that is how awesome I think I am. That is how cool my future me is. Like I can do 100 times more what I'm doing now. But by pointing out that inferiority right now, I think that separates the gap even further from the future you, if that makes sense.
No, that's wow. You said that really well. You gave me goose pimples. I hate when people say
Uh,
goose pimples. They're called goosebumps. Where focus goes, energy flows. So if I tend to look at the worst in myself, that means I tend to see the worst in other people. That means I tend to see the worst in what's going on in my business. I tend to see the worst in my children. I tend to see the worst in the world, right? And I've learned not to constantly focus on that pimple on your face that you need to squeeze, and it gets worse and worse the more you squeeze it, and it gets redder and redder, right?
yeah,
And you
yeah,
can't avoid. Now it's like this huge red pimple that you like when it was nothing before,
yeah.
right? So where focus goes, energy flows. And I've learned over time to focus on beautiful things, right? Beautiful things about life, beautiful things about humanity, beautiful things about our family, our relationship, right? I tend to avoid cynical people who say the humanity shit. Right, humanity, like, yeah, thank you. We know there's shit parts about humanity. Thank you, Sherlock. Like, we
Yeah.
know, right? What? How about we focus on the beautiful things? How far we've come in a species, how far we've come, how much we can do, how much further we
How
can
much
go.
more beautiful stuff we can do,
Right?
right?
Thank you. I know, human beings can be negative and there's war and there's this and that. Like, I get that. right? But I want to hang around people who create, who build, who are constantly looking to be better, right? And what happens is, what I've learned is, when you focus on negativity, it's kind of like trying to sniff your way out of a cocaine addiction, right? It's trying to think yourself out of the problem. You can't. It's impossible. How you fix it is, you just go be better and you live life, and then all of a sudden your mommy daddy problems go away. All
Yeah.
of a sudden your issues with people go away, when you just worked at life and you were just living life rather than trying to think your problems away,
Yeah, I
right?
remember like last year this time, I was having a hard time in our business just being passionate about or doing like not wanting to do what needs to get done, right? And that happens. Like you're not gonna be excited to do everything every single day forever, especially when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. It's a the hustle, which we love and we want, but it also sucks sometimes when you're in it. So I was in the hustle. I didn't like the hustle. And the answer, and I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not doing what needs to get done? I didn't do this again today. I say I'm gonna do it tomorrow, and I know I'm not gonna do it tomorrow. What is wrong with me? Why can't I get myself to do the stuff that I need to do to make money so that we can have a family, so we can do this, so we can change lives? Like, why am I not? I'm like, I'm so lazy. I'm such a lazy person. And then for so long, I was trying to I would now I identify it as lazy.
Mm,
And how can I achieve anything great if I think I'm lazy?
mm.
And it just wasn't help. And the answer wasn't I'm lazy. It wasn't at all. It was I wasn't passionate about the method that I was doing. So guess what? We just rearranged it, and then I was waking up earlier than ever. Like now, like I'm excited to do what we're doing, and my heart's in it because I'm not a lazy person. I work hard when I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. I can work hard when I see how this contributes to the future. I can work hard when I see that I'm changing somebody's life. It wasn't, if I sat down and said, what's wrong with me? How can I not act like this anymore? And I think it's me. It's not, it's do, if that makes sense.
Yes. It's it's the same thing every day when I come home and I see you and Max, and I see you guys, and
We're usually literally just like this.
yeah, it's just like that. Just right where I left you. And I'm like, I gotta go work out. Right? I don't wanna sometimes. I do wanna sometimes. Sometimes I don't care, but every single time I do it. And then all of a sudden, every single time without a doubt, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, just go do it. There is nothing I could say to myself. There is no motivational speaker. There was nobody that could push me anything. If I just did it, everything would be solved. Right?
Hmm.
That's it. It's just doing it, just
Yeah.
living it, just being in the moment, just actually doing the thing, which is that, and that's real to me, because I really resonate with being a doer. And I've, because one time I remember this, my father said it to me, and it was so good, because my father's very introverted, and and I hated being called lazy. I didn't like that as well, right? I didn't like being called a lot of things, fat, lazy, dumb. I was in a slow learning class. I had a learning impediment when I was a kid. I was overweight. I had all these things, and I'm like, I do not want to be labeled like that. If anybody's gonna label with anything, I'm gonna label myself. Right? I'm not gonna let society say I have ADHD or I have a problem understanding. I'm not going to let anybody else label me but me.
Hmm.
Right? And going back to my father, he was like, "Oh, you talk a lot. Life's gonna be tough for you." And I thought to myself, and I was like young, I was like, "Okay, if I talk a lot, that means I need to walk a lot more."
Yeah.
Right? And what I've learned with especially entrepreneurs or people who have successful marriages or anything successful going for them, they don't need to yell at you and tell you why they are what they are. They just, like, in their head, they're like, I'll prove you wrong. Right? They have
Okay.
this almost like this chip on their shoulder. Every single successful entrepreneur I've known millionaires, billionaires, all that stuff, just because of my family's network. I've had the opportunity to meet people, and not meet people, but in front of a camera where they're putting on their best face, like at their home and they're chilling out. And usually, most of the time, they take things personally, right? That's why they started a big company. That's why they did they take things personally. They're incredibly insecure, but they would never let you know that. And they keep it deep down inside that. And that's what drives them, right? And I love that. right? Because most people let their insecurities bubble to the surface, let all the negativity bubble to the surface, and then they constantly comment on other people's problems, the world's impertinences, how marriage sucks, or they let it arise in their relationships rather than just trying to fix themselves. And like, I'll prove you wrong by being it rather than talking about it,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
what I love. That's what always makes me feel content, I guess, when we've had a failure or when we've what we consider a failure or we're not where we want to be. In my mind, it's just like, I'll show you.
yeah,
I'll show you.
yeah,
But yeah, that's always my comforting line in my head. It's my automatic line in my head is, "You'll see."
yeah. You'll see.
That's
You'll
my
see.
automatic line in my head.
I
"You'll
was
see."
thinking.
I don't have to say it. I don't have to show it on my face. Just my automatic animal thought is, "You'll see." And
Yeah.
I don't care how angry I am, how insulted someone just insulted me or said something about me, right? You'll see. And I literally see a smile in my head.
Yep, me too. I think to myself every single time I've been disrespected, I have been hurt, I've been rejected, I've been dumped, I've failed at business, I've lost money, people have said things to me behind my back, in front of me, whatever. I think to myself, you'll see. Wait 5 years, you'll see. You'll see. Wait, just
Yeah.
wait 5 years, you'll see. I'll get faster, I'll get
Yeah.
sharper, I'll get leaner, my marriage will get better, and you'll be in the exact same place.
Yeah. And I mean, weight loss is such a great example of that because so many people have so many reasons as to why they can't, right? My age, my metabolism, my kids, my job, right? So I'm just like, I'm over here trying to rack up every reason as to why you're wrong, right? Watch me have a six pack when I'm 50. Watch me have 10 children and still have my six pack. Watch me run multi-million dollar businesses and still be able to keep the weight. Like, that's like, I love that game in my head. I'm like, you're wrong.
Yeah,
You're wrong. You'll see one day.
yeah, yeah. That's yeah, we're getting to deep. It's just
Those are our
it's a deep vein.
insecurities.
Yeah, it's a deep vein. It's a very deep vein about why you want things in life. Everything you want in life and everything the house, the cars, the clothes, the everything you do is to be seen, right? And at the end of the day, you just got to be content with that last final person at death's door, right? That's who you got to be content
Yeah,
with.
because no one's
Good-
there when you're dying.
Yeah.
It's not like, look how great I died. Look
Yeah.
how great I looked when I died. Look how much money I had in my account, but you're dead.
Yeah.
It's like there's no more judgment except your own.
Yep. Yeah.
Next.
Okay. Last question.
That was a very long answer for a question I didn't want to answer.
All right. Do you put as much effort and emphasis on inner beauty as outer beauty?
I mean, I guess yes. That's like the answer everybody's gonna say. But I think they come in cycles. It's the same thing. It's how can you how can you have inner beauty without outer beauty? And if you have inner beauty, it shows outwardly. And if you have outward beauty, it changes you inwardly. I don't think you can have one without the other. Just because you're hot and you have physical beauty because you had your lips plumped or your eyelashes done or you barely eat so you're skinny. Like just because you like there's a difference between outward beauty and then just being hot.
Yes.
Just because you're hot doesn't mean you're internally beautiful. But if you are externally beautiful, like like the physique that you have is a healthy, strong physique. The only way that you got to a healthy, strong, beautiful physique is by putting in the internal beauty work. You're a hard worker. You work out when you don't feel like it. You work out hard at the gym. You don't just sit on a machine and scroll through your phone, right? You're diligent with your meals. You go grocery shopping. You eat your healthy stuff. You moderate with temptation. Like those are all characteristics that give you inner beauty. Like you're a hardworking, disciplined, consistent person. I think it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, you said it really well. I really believe because outward beauty, let's say Kim Kardashian and all that stuff, I don't find that beautiful, right? I find it hot, but not beautiful. And you can't marry that, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't because they're so tied to their outside beauty that it's fragile. It's very fragile, right? And I find that a lot with women because that's just how the world of women work. Where men, it's like I start off with zero value, right? When I was 16 years old, so I have to build myself up to be valuable, right? Where I find women, they hit puberty, and then I'm beautiful, I'm valuable, I'm getting attention. Like I never got attention until I started to actually work on myself internally,
Yeah.
right? And that's not always the case, right? It could go hand in hand, and I find that the world is becoming more and more equal. We have this conversation all the time, right? But what you said is, for me to have outside beauty, let's say the physical, how I hold myself, what
Mhm.
I wear, how I conduct myself on the outside world, requires so much inner work.
Mhm.
I'm always listening to books. I'm always trying to curate who is speaking to me through my phone, right? I unfollow people who are, they're eating cookies all day. I quit. I know that this is so precious and I need to protect this. And as I curate this more and more, as I curate my mind and I get healthier and I read more books and I hang around more beautiful people on the inside and outside, it tends to manifest itself on the outside.
Yeah.
When I was really insecure as a kid, when I didn't study, when I played too much video games, when I ate too much chips and pop and all that stuff, is when I was disrespected the most and I had the least opportunities flow to me. And, I was like, why does life suck? Right. But then when I'm like, a flip switch for me, realizing that I needed to work on myself internally, those things started happening less, right? Being
Mhm.
disrespected, not
Right.
having opportunities, bad grades. I worked on myself internally, and then the outside beauty of the world changed, right? So you could tell a lot about a person, how they view the outside world, what they have to say about humanity, about everything. In some way, shape, or form, if they view humanity as a very cynical way, very negative, they're broken a little bit inside.
Yeah.
They haven't worked on themselves enough,
Well,
right?
how can you hate your own species? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like getting mad at your parents because they weren't good parents, but that now they made you wise enough to know that they weren't good parents, so technically they did their job.
Yeah. It's that's a very powerful thing to be so hard on yourself in a good way, and then you start seeing the beautiful things of life, right? When I got dumped and then when I was in love and my relationship fell apart, some people are like, I hate relationship, it's done for me. Like, they have this edge to them. It's like, no, that was my fault because I brought that out in that person,
Yeah.
right? And I blame myself. I genuinely blame myself for everything. And if I don't, I reach that place in my life where I'm like, it was my fault, because it always is your fault. The only thing and only person you ever have control over is you. I don't have control over you. I don't have control over Max. I don't have control over our team, our employees, our business, the economy. All these things are subject to change and emotions. The only thing I ever have control over is me. So I might as well just keep focusing on me. Right? Not in a narcissistic way, like, oh, you're so beautiful and sexy. No, like, maybe if I were to study and be better and be sharper, and I could affect change in other
That's how you
people.
change the world.
Yeah.
It's not going out and complaining and talking loudly about all the problems that we should fix. It's like go fix your problems within.
Yeah, it's easier to change a city. It's easier to change a whole community than change yourself.
Yeah. It's easy to go rally for a cause and just spew stuff than it is to actually sit down and say, how am I not helping? How am
We
I not helping society?
Yeah, we live in a society now where we talk shit about rich people and we talk shit about entrepreneurs and business owners like they're the ones that are keeping your life shit, right? Or keeping it not where you want it to be. Yeah, I get that there's evil people out there, but my father, he's a successful person, and he started from nothing. He literally just wanted to create a business to help his family. My older brother was having seizures. He just wanted to create something, and he kept doing it and kept creating, and it built a business that helped other people. And he has a team and he has employees, and he never did it out of evil malice, like to
Yeah.
affect change and control the world. And now he donates to sick kids hospital, and he does all these things, and also he benefits from it too, right? He gets to drive the cars he wants and travel the world, but we only see that aspect of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I never wanted to start a business to control people and affect a negative change in the world. I just kind of wanted to not be a fat loser anymore and not be able to not find love. I just wanted to be somebody who's strong and able to help people.
Yeah.
And it worked. And now that's a pillar in me that I can never take away. So I just keep doing it. And I'll
Yeah.
always keep doing it, like brushing my teeth, right?
Yeah.
So
A large portion of anxiety comes from feeling out of control. Like I can't control the future. I can't control what if this happens, right? And it's just you'll never control anything. So once we come to peace with that and then we say, "Okay, I do need to exert control somewhere in order to calm my mind," just take full control of yourself.
mm,
That's when you can be brutally honest, right? Going back to the first question that you asked. Confront yourself first. Like, are you making the world a better place? Stop trying to make the world a better place by talking about all these causes. Like, are you every single day waking up and smiling at the cashier? Are you donating, buying a bagel for the homeless guy on the street?
hmm
Right? Are you building a business to help employ a person, and then this person can feed their family and send money back to India?
yeah.
Right? Like, did you make the world a better place today? If you don't have an immediate answer of something that pops in your head, then the answer is no.
Yeah.
And that goes with us every day too. And not every day I can say that, but I
Yes.
can tell you that I'm trying, and that is on my mind. And it just starts by like understanding that that is what should be happening, in my opinion.
Yeah, I always say this is that I always will grant grace for people who try. Always. If you're genuinely trying, I will always grant you grace. I will not cut you slack. I will not be nice to you. I will not have you in my life if you're a complainer and you're negative and you just want to complain about everybody else. I will just avoid you like the plague, right? And
He's not joking. There's this one guy. He's one of my mom's friends, and we were meeting at some convention, and he started talking. I don't even remember what it was, but you did not like it. We were mid conversation. I barely know this guy. Ryan barely knows this guy. The three of us are alone talking. Ryan just turns around and walks away mid conversation. I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm mad at you that you left me with this guy, but also I'm pretty impressed that you have the balls to protect your energy like that.
I think that's one thing that I wouldn't compromise is negative people and cynical people. Negative people, by the time you realize somebody is negative, you haven't changed them. They've changed you and they leave you unhinged, right? The only way to deal with a negative, cynical person is to quarantine them. They have to self destruct
Yeah.
because you think you can change them. You think you can enact some type of positivity. You think you can be like, wow, here, listen to me talk about how beautiful the world is. They will leave you unhinged
Well,
and they will leave
they're
you.
stealing your energy, and your energy is meant to be given, but is it going into a black hole?
Yes.
You have to watch out for.
What advice would you give to your children to stay determined?
I think you have to know what you're working towards. I think it's that simple. If you don't know how amazing and beautiful and impactful your future is, you won't wake up when your alarm rings. You won't go to work on the weekend, right? You'll stay up extra late. You'll skip a workout if you don't know what it's all for. Determination is just doing something you don't want to do consistently long enough to get the thing that you wanted. It's short term sacrifice for long term gain. And short term sacrifice becomes more easy when you understand what that long term gain is. But I don't think anybody talks about the long term gain. When they lack determination, all they do is complain about why can't I be consistent on my diet? Why haven't I made this much money yet? Why haven't I done X, Y, and Z? We're focusing on what not being determined has caused instead of figuring out how to get the determination back. I think it's just lack of clarity. And I can say that because I definitely am challenged with that myself. That's definitely a challenge. And what's cool is recently that future is becoming way more clear. That beautiful, exciting end game for me. I'm finally putting the puzzle pieces on what that actually looks like and what I actually want. Right? Because I mean, we can all sit here and I can ask you, what's your future? What do you want? Like, oh, I want a family and a house and kids, and I want this much in my bank account. And like, cool, those are good goals. And like, you'd probably be happy if you achieve them. But it's like we haven't thought further. There's like something missing that if that doesn't spark you to get up and instead of hit snooze, then that's not it yet. Like you honestly, I truly, truly believe that if you will hit snooze or you leave work early or you don't want to, and when I say work, work can be anything. It's not like literal work for your job, but you're not putting in work on the weekends. You think you're taking weekends off and you're just sitting on a couch. If that is how you have been acting, if you're trying to lose weight and you can't, and that's how you've been acting, it's just simply because you haven't put in the effort to discover the thing that lights you up. And a lot of the time, to find the thing that lights you up, you have to find the things that don't light you up. And most of us don't want to go through that phase. So it's like making it through the shit to make it on the other side, to be able to cross more off your list and say, nope, that's not it. Oh, that might be it. I'll come back to that. That's not it. That's not it. That might be it. And it's like a puzzle. You put together this beautiful puzzle. And then that's when the power of manifestation actually happens, right? Like you have to believe it to achieve it. We don't put time into actually believing it. We haven't really fabricated it. It takes a long time and a lot of intentional effort every single day, multiple times a day to play around with ideas in your head, right? We can't just have said the ideas a year ago, 5 years ago, and then we bring them up every couple months because we're trying to remind ourselves. It's like, if this is the future and you're going to have to go through really, really tough times, what's going to make you go through those tough times? A future that's worth it, right? Just like, what's going to make you not eat that piece of cake this weekend? Well, in the moment, that piece of cake is more exciting than losing 5 pounds. So the 5 pounds can wait till Monday. But if it was like, oh no, if I don't lose this 5 pounds, I'm going to get a divorce because my husband isn't attracted to me, I'm not being intimate with him, and we're getting disconnected, well, then I might not eat the cake. Right? The cake's not worth a divorce, but the cake's definitely worth 5 pounds. Also, I'll wait. And we just don't frame our future properly, in my
Yes.
opinion.
That's a deep nuance. How could I make my kids determined? Well, I don't think I could ever make Max, my children, determined. You see it all the time. You see some siblings that do really well in life and they have a passion and they keep doing it. Other siblings, they don't do anything. Right? And then you ask yourself why? Like, what happened? Was the parenting different from child to child? Yeah. But also let's put it on the child. It's the way it's their DNA code. It's who they are, it's up to them. Right? If Max wants to do nothing and complain and have a bad reputation with his life, that's up to him. I'm gonna try to be the best me I can be, right? And hopefully influence him. But I can't teach him to be determined. I can't teach him to go run on the treadmill. I can't teach him to go to the gym. I can't teach him every day you got to read a book. I can't unless I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one thing. Like I've learned that over time you can't. So when I wanted to start my company, for so many times I would hand work over to my siblings or my family members, and they wouldn't get it done. And then I would have friends, and they wouldn't get it done. Right? And then I would have, work colleagues. I'm like, hey, I have this really cool business idea, and then can you get it? And they wouldn't get it done. But then I met you, and then boom, you got it done. Right? You were determined. You were always going to be Madison before me. Right? You were Madison long before you met your father and mother. You were Madison long before me, long before Max, anybody. Nobody could take you off that path. Right? Some people don't even give a shit about a path. They're just like, I'm just floating. You got to enjoy life. You got to do this, got to do that. Some people are like, no, I'm going to do this. And no matter what. Right? And not everybody can be that. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to have a bunch of kids and some of them aren't going to be determined. That's just a statistical fact. That's just, it happens in my family too. All the siblings, all my cousins, all had access to the same opportunities I did, but I just chose to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And some people go to the grave and they're like, yeah, I lived a really good life. I'm not trying to live a good life. I'm trying to live a phenomenal life, a great life. And it might hurt. Some parents are like, no, all my children are great and determined, right? No, they're not, right?
And I mean, that's,
And no, they're not. And I'm saying that based on having a child. I know statistically, if I have 10 kids, 50% of them are going to be complete fuck ups in a way, right? They're not going to be the best potential they can be, right? Look at any siblings, anybody. There's always half of them that do really well in life and the other half mediocre, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is I've had a lot of bad shit happen to me. I died when I was a kid. I got bullied. I got put in slow learning classes. Dropped out of university. My business got wiped out because of COVID. All this bad shit happened to me, but I attached good things to it. It was meant to happen. I was meant for great things. It is testing me for the next phase. If other people would have broken, but it made me better and sharper, so I need to be better. Other people were like, oh, fuck, I knew I shouldn't have started that business. I knew I shouldn't have started it, right? Mommy and daddy were right. I knew I should have not gone into that area of life because I was in a slow learning class, right? It's like you know how to attach greatness to your name. You know how to attach greatness. Like, it sounds crazy. Like, I died when I was a kid, but I didn't. So my life is worth something. I have to make it something. Right? Some people can die like, yeah, it's whatever. I just died. Whatever, cool. Right?
Or, you almost drowned. And now they could never go swimming again because they're afraid. Right?
Yes. Yes. It's like whatever meaning you want to attach to it. I could have attached the meaning was like, yeah, I died, whatever, cool story. No, I'm like, no, I was meant for something. I was meant
God
to
put me back for a reason.
yeah, I was meant to do something in my life. And then other people are like, yeah, whatever, I just drowned. It's another story. Cool, moving on with my life, right?
I guess it's not how to make your kid determined. It's
I don't think
showing
I
them.
don't think you can.
It's showing them what determination looks like,
Yes.
and then they determine their level of determination.
Exactly. Right?
And I mean, who's to say that's good and bad? Because what another thing I don't want to do as a parent is impress my version of success on them.
Yes.
Because as much as I do think it's right, and I do think it's kind of the only way,
Yes.
I'd be silly to think that there's such thing as an only way.
Yes.
And if they're truly happy doing what it is they choose to do and how they choose to live life and fulfilled, and there's a purpose and they are impactful and they do wake up every day trying to make society better, it's just being okay as a parent with what that version of making society better looks like to them.
I think you're going to have a difficult time later on in life with our children because you like control and taking the lead, right? Where I'm a frameworks person, right? Like, so for example, is Maddie the type of leader where she's like, let me take the drop wheel, I'll drive, right? Or I'm the type of leader that's like, it's called the bus framework. So this is the framework for life, for being healthy. Follow it if you wanna. If you don't, cool. I'm gonna be on this bus being successful. So you can jump on this bus or not. It's up to you, right? Where you're like, no, let me drive. This is how we're gonna be successful. That's why you like control. And that's not a bad thing. That's why you've been successful. There's different types of leaders and different types of control, right? And so when Max one day says, I don't want to do health and I don't want to be healthy, you're like, no, you need to do it. Like, no, I'm like, I would go like, oh, no, being healthy is going to lead you to a better life. If you don't want to do it, cool. I'm going to be over here, right? Where you're like, no, come Max, we need to do this, right? So, I'm not painting on your canvas, but I really feel like there's different types of leadership and control, right? And I have my own ways of doing things and you're going to have your own ways. But I just think to myself is Max is going to be him, whoever he wants to be. And I have no real control over it. All I'm going to be doing is like, I know my life is way better when I'm healthier and fitter. I know my life is way better when I give more than I take. I know my life is way better when my marriage is healthy. So you can follow this. If you don't want it, cool, be over there. But I'm going to be over here, right? Having a good life.
I have one thing to say to that.
Yes.
You'll see.
That's the best way to answer.
And done.
Yes.